jumping right in, the physical place to be found. We know that being found is both a spiritual and a physical place, and I wanted to give enough time to really digest and break down both the spiritual and the physical places, okay? A physical place to be found is serving, okay? So the first physical place that you will be found is quite literally serving. And that really goes hand in hand with being humbled. I mean, man, the parallels, Holy Spirit. Okay. The parallels of being humbled means that you will be found in a place of serving, means that you will be found in a place where you are pouring into other people, and as you pour out, the Holy Spirit will fill you, so that even if you are in a season of needing to be taken care of, okay, financially, or physically, as in like needing housing or other things like that, your service to others will provide your means of being poured into. My goodness. So it really is cyclical, okay? The more you pour out, the more the Holy Spirit can pour into you, and vice versa, okay? And so on. So the physical place, the first physical place to be found is in a position of service. So what does that look like? When I say serving, I mean volunteering. It could be working, but it's most likely going to be something that you do in your free time, in your spare time. If God has called you into full-time ministry, if God has even called you into part-time ministry, if he has you serving overseas, like your girlfriend here was serving, okay, the Lord called me to serve overseas, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer before. My wilderness was my Peace Corps volunteer service abroad. I served overseas in Central America for a year before the pandemic, when everything kind of fell apart and I wasn't able to complete my service. But I was found in a way. The Lord found me, okay? I found the Holy Spirit in my place of service. And we know that these places, essentially God positioning you both spiritually and physically to be found, is something that he sets up right before, maybe not right before, but definitely before, it precedes being found. So you need to be found in the place. You need to be in position in that field. Come on, Ruth. You need to be in the field before you can be found, okay? So just because you stumble into fields doesn't mean you're going to be found immediately, but it means that that is the season of your life and the physical place that you and your husband will cross paths, that you and your wife will have a divine encounter, okay? So when I say serving, it may go beyond your normal body of work. It may go beyond your normal scope of activity, okay? This is probably something that you are doing as a hobby, as a pastime, as a volunteer service, as, out of the goodness of your heart. And that's why it goes hand in hand with being humbled, because it's something God has called you to do. He's put it on your heart to serve the needy, okay, to help the poor, to go visit those in prison, to work some sort of ministry. So definitely for women, you will be found in ministry. You will be found doing things that pertain to the Lord. You will be found serving other people, okay? And the men will probably be found in some position of leadership, in some position of being a voice of authority, or being in some position of authority. I'm not saying that you're going to be like a CEO, or you have to be making a certain amount of money, or that you have to have a certain position. No, I'm saying God will have you in a place where your ability to lead will be cultivated, and the woman's ability to submit will be cultivated, because when you all find each other, those are the qualities that will attract you to each other, okay? Remember, in the first installment, we spoke about how being humble is a very attractive heart posture for a king. Someone who's had humility pruned in him. He's looking for a humble wife. He's looking for a woman of noble character, of a humble heart posture. And so are we, queens. We're absolutely looking for someone who is not so full of themselves that they cannot see that, they need some humbling, or they need some, or that they need some instruction. Are you humble enough to receive instruction, even as a leader, even as a king? And these are important things that women subconsciously can pick up on, okay, intuitively can pick up on, if a man is humble, or if he is someone who is still walking around with a lot of pride, okay? So the physical place may look different for both the man and the woman, but the men can also be called through a season of volunteering or serving, for little to no pay. When I say volunteering, I mean you're not really getting paid, okay? I was a professional volunteer for like 3-4 years of my early 20s, okay? Lord was like, my daughter, I will add the increase, but right now I need you to serve. I need you to volunteer your time. I need you to put others' needs ahead of yours right now, and I will take care of you in the serving, okay? And so, sorry, for a second, I didn't think I had my mic on. And so you will be pulled through these seasons that will humble you, that will get you in position, that will help you submit to God's plan for your life, so that when that gorgeous Boaz comes looking out on his field, okay? Ooh, that's another thing, Lord. That's a good correlation. Boaz was in a position of leadership. He was not proud, he was not haughty, he was not arrogant, but he had built something in order for the reapers to be able to glean, in order for people to even be in his field. So he had to create, he had to establish an empire, so to speak, for people to even come to his field. So that's why the man may be found in a different position of service than you, okay? If you're called to like the Ruth Boaz prototype, you may be in a place where you could probably benefit from all that he has built in his singlehood, but he will also benefit from your humility and your ability to submit to him and to follow after God no matter what it looks like, okay? So your position of service speaks highly of your character. Your position of service, of allowing God to bring you to a position of serving other people, speaks of your character. It speaks of where your treasure is laid up, as in heaven, okay? It speaks of what you truly value. It speaks of your heart of compassion, of empathy, of your ability to step outside of your world and step into someone else's and lend a hand, okay? So serving is not subservience, okay? It's not saying that you are less than or that you are destined to a life of you know what I mean, not having your needs met or not being able to move ahead or to advance in your purpose, okay? Who knows if this serving season is a portion of your purpose, okay? Everything that I learned during my year of service abroad has aided in my ability to build this ministry, has aided in my entrepreneurship journey, my kingdom entrepreneurship journey. Everything I learned overseas has humbled me to appreciate this building season, because I know when due season comes, I'll be able to handle being exalted, because God will humble the exalted, the proud, and he will exalt the humble. So allow God to humble you right now, to take you through a season of serving, to place you in different circumstances and situations that are meant to display your heart character, your heart posture, and your character after him. Okay, if you want to be more Christ-like, if you truly want to be able to succeed in your marriage, okay, loving your husband, serving your husband, loving your wife, respecting your husband the way God originally intended, you will need humility. You will need the things built and cultivated in you during that season of service, okay? So serving is not the same as being in a career, I would say. It's probably part of your calling. It's probably a vocation. You're probably not making a lot of money from it. So I'm in full-time ministry right now. I used to serve as a volunteer overseas. I served with AmeriCorps as well when we got back from being overseas. So these positions of being in a volunteer role, a servant's role, have not been for nothing. They were leading me to healed woman, essentially. They were leading me to being able to build for the kingdom, okay? So it does require a sacrifice on your end, but it is so worth it if what you are sacrificing for is building an eternal kingdom, because you're investing in something that will absolutely give you a return on your investment, okay? You need God to sustain you during this serving period, okay? So it's not forever. You are called to different levels of service, okay? Over the course of your life, we're called to serve as Christians, okay? As kingdom builders, we're serving an eternal yet invisible kingdom. But you will need God and his strength and his power, okay, to get through the serving season, because it's your serving, like I said, that will be funding your pursuits, essentially, okay? So when I was overseas, I was only financially provided for because I went overseas to serve. So my ability to live overseas was because I said yes to working in the community, okay? Yes to doing certain things. Like your ability to be sustained financially is contingent upon your commitment to service. Come on. And is that not how it works in the kingdom? Okay, God will absolutely add the increase as long as you are committed to his path, to his way of serving and building for the kingdom, okay? So that's a life lesson right there, my dear. The more that you serve, the more that can be poured into you, okay? God can't pour into a full vessel, so how are you pouring into other people to allow the Holy Spirit to pour into you? And that same principle applies in marriage. How are you pouring into each other so that the Holy Spirit can continue to pour into you and your partner respectively, so that you guys can continue to pour into each other, your children, your community, your families? And these are all important things to remember, okay? So the heart postures developed in you during that serving season will reap very rich dividends when harvest season arrives. So for some people, harvest season is moving on to another another level in your calling for some people. So honestly, like I said, everything that I learned abroad has helped me build Healed Woman. This is harvest season for that season, okay? So I'm harvesting all the seeds I planted during my Peace Corps experience, okay? And when God gets ready to elevate me into public ministry, okay, God willing, then I will be reaping the seeds I planted in Healed Woman right now, okay? So everything that you do, serving, helps to elevate you, okay? Helps to elevate you into your next season of service, where you will be given bigger and more weighty assignments. Your assignments will increase in weight and responsibility, and you'll be able to handle it because you allow God to humble you and to prune you, okay? So everything that you do, whether you are serving in a paid position, okay, can prepare you for a career elsewhere. Ministry can prepare you for your purpose, for your calling to serve in the body, okay? The season of serving in singleness prepares you to serve your spouse in marriage, okay? So no season of service, physical service, is wasted. So, we absolutely have to include our big four women of faith. Rebecca was found serving, okay? Let's just go on down the line right now, okay? Rebecca was found serving. She was literally found serving, hauling buckets of water to feed camels that weren't even hers, okay? When the servant came and asked her for, a drink of water, she went above and beyond and said, oh, of course I'll give you water, and I'll also feed your camels. I'll also draw water for your camels. Her service, her ability to serve even strangers who came asking for, something so simple as a glass of water, was able to prune in her a heart posture of going above and beyond, a heart posture of excellency, okay, of attention to detail, okay, of thinking of others in a way that didn't mean that she was inherently his slave, but she was like, I don't mind serving you. I don't mind going above and beyond, okay? She literally said, yes, I will do this and more. I'll do more than you even ask of me, okay? So her attention to detail immediately set her apart, and we know exactly how that happened for her, that the servant was like, this is a woman that my master would benefit from as his wife. This is a woman I can take back to my master Abraham and take back to my master's son Isaac and show them she has a heart posture of service. She is diligent. She is humble. She's considerate. Her service, her ability to serve a stranger without complaining set her apart. It set her apart. It put her on the map, okay? It put her on the map. I mean, of course, she was always the chosen one, and she was literally in Abraham's family, but it was that interaction that solidified for the servant that this was really the woman who he could go back to Abraham with, okay? So her heart posture, her humble heart posture, was revealed in her dedicated service to go above and beyond for a man she had just met, okay? And then she walked into a beautiful life essentially made for her, being the wife of the promised son Isaac. She was greatly rewarded for her service, okay? So I wonder how many of you are inspired by this story to not only serve, but to go above and beyond, because it really does set you apart. You really are a distinguished woman of faith, worth, and valor when you decide to serve a king, go above and beyond for the kingdom, okay? Let's move on to, there was one more thing I wanted to say about Rebecca. She was blessed through her obedience to God. So in addition to service and to sacrifice, she was blessed in her obedience, okay? I'm sure women were asked back in the day to do favors like that. Like if they're already at the well, I'm sure they were asked to just draw water for this person, draw water for that person. So perhaps being asked to draw water for a stranger was no big task. It was no foreign request, but it was the fact that she saw his camels, that she was like, oh, well, what else can I do for you while I'm here? You're a stranger in a strange land. How do you know? You don't know the lay of the land. So by taking care of someone else for a season, God will absolutely take care of you. And by you going above and beyond, God will be motivated to go above and beyond for you. You can prove your faithfulness and God will prove his. Okay? So I think a couple weeks ago for Struggles of a Faith Walk on the channel, I uploaded a video about desiring the promise more than the promise keeper, and how we shouldn't seek God merely for his gifts, but because he is a faithful gift giver and a rewarder of faith. That is what should motivate us to continue serving the promise keeper and waiting for the promise. So we're not just serving just to get, things and material things added to our life, but we do it because we know that God will reward us. Okay, we do it because we want to be called a good and faithful servant. Okay, so make sure your heart posture is in the right place when you serve, not to be observed, okay, but to be noticed by those who would appreciate your heart posture. Okay, we're not doing it for showmanship. We're doing it because we know that God is watching us and he is pleased, okay? Now we can move on to Ruth. Ruth was found serving, another one of our beautiful sisters who was found serving, okay? She was found gleaning. We know this. She was found doing dirty, menial work, okay? She was doing work that people would not like to do, that I would not like to do, okay? She was doing back-breaking, hard, difficult, dirty labor. But it was her portion in that season. God specifically took her from probably a place of comfort, let's be honest. If she was married, she was provided for. He took her provision. He took familiarity away from her, okay, because she was called to go to a strange land. He took her to a place where she was surrounded by strangers, foreigners, where she herself was a foreigner, and told her, this is your portion right now. Right now, this is your portion. This is how you will, get food, glean food for you and your mother-in-law, but I will provide for you. I will not leave you nor forsake you. And she didn't think anything of it. She was like, you know what? Your people are my people. Your God's my God. Where you go, I will go. Let's do this thing, okay? Let's just get in there. Get our hands dirty so that we can eat. She was just concerned about taking care of Naomi. And God took care of her, okay? And Boaz, and God sent Boaz to take care of them. Okay, even Naomi was cared for out of Ruth's sacrifice, okay? She did her work cheerfully. She was not complaining. She was not whining. She was there every day in, day out, so much so that the overseer noticed her, and Boaz was like, who is that woman? Who is that gorgeous woman gleaning in my fields? She should be taken care of. She should be sitting back, chilling, cocktail in hand. I don't know, honey. Little wine. I don't know if they had wine back then, like before Jesus roamed the earth. A little wine in her hand, just enjoying life. She was a widow. She didn't have to be out there doing backbreaking work. She should be able to grieve the loss of her husband and find something meaningful to do with her life. And the Lord assigned her to a field and assigned her to destiny. Destiny. She was found serving. She was found gleaning. And Boaz took one look at her and was like, cover her. Protect her. Do not let her glean anywhere else. Don't let foreign men touch her. Don't let the woman shame her. He provided for her immediately. Safety, provision, food, and eventually provided for her as her gorgeous king. Yeah, he was her gorgeous king. He provided for her in marriage, in singlehood and in marriage, okay? So I'm sure she was annoyed. I'm sure she was irritated, heartbroken, devastated that this was her new life. But she did not let her feelings distract her or deter her from doing the things that she knew the Holy Spirit was leading her to do, okay? She didn't allow her situation to shake her faith. If anything, she was like, you know what? My circumstances may not reflect my belief in God right now. They may not reflect the things that I know about God, but my faith will hold me. My faith will get me through. And gleaning will just help me pass the time during the day, okay, sis? So this is the level of sacrifice and selflessness that it will take to be found by your partner, to be found in the presence of the Holy Spirit, and to be found by your earthly purpose partner, okay? So you have to be able to learn, you must learn the language of the king, the things that are important to your King of Kings, to be able to speak his language and prove your faithfulness, okay? To prove that you want to serve him in and out of season, with faith, with fasting, with contentment, okay? Despite your circumstances, you will serve him. Ruth was a foreigner, okay? She was always going to stand out. So that was working kind of in her favor, but also, kind of working against her because she came from a place where there were idolaters, okay? So people were probably looking at her like, oh, okay, this girl is in town. This was someone who could threaten their livelihood. And Boaz saw right past that. He was like, no, this is a woman who is dedicated to the Lord. Look at the way she's gleaning, sweating, sweating her hair out. I don't know. And how she's so dedicated to making sure that she is taken care of and her mother-in-law as well. And he was so impressed by the good report that he got about her from his overseer, from people who had observed her, observed how humble she was, okay? So you are called to be an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven. Ruth represented maybe Moab as well, where she was from, but she now represented, a change of heart. She represented what could happen to an idolater turned Christian, okay? So you're called to represent the kingdom no matter where you're called to serve. You're called to represent what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be unashamed of your beliefs, of your convictions, and to stand firm in that despite your circumstances, okay? Your differences are what qualify you. Your ability to not only blend in, but your ability to respect the laws of the land, but to adhere to an eternal kingdom, okay, is what will set you apart. So she respected, the gleaners, and she respected their lifestyle, and she was really coming into the faith at that point. But she also knew, she was like, I live by a different set of rules. I know that if I do this for a season, my God will take care of me. And she let her convictions guide her into the exact field that became hers, okay? Man, there's so much we can say about all of the beautiful people who were found serving, okay? Esther was found serving. I know her season looked a little bit different in terms of being prepared, but she was found serving. She was found allowing herself to be prepared to become the queen that would usher in a whole new era for King Xerxes, okay? And her humility set her apart. Yet again, her humility set her apart. So we know Rebecca was found serving, Esther, Ruth, okay? You know what I mean? There's so many other people who were found working in humble positions, okay? King David was a shepherd, you know what I mean? Like, Joseph went from the pit to the prison to the palace, okay? Like, hello. We've all been in positions, or we're all going to be called to a position of being in a low place before we can be exalted, whether that is being exalted into a marriage, whether that's being exalted into a new level of your calling, into parenthood, into ministry, and you have to allow the Lord to take you through that serving season so that you can learn what is required of you to get to that next season, to harvest season, okay, my dear? So where is the place for you to be found? Just like a little quick recap. Serving, my dear, serving, doing something else, doing something for someone else without expecting a reward or a return or compensation, honestly. Can you do something for someone else out of the goodness of your heart and show God that you care about his people, okay? That compassion can be pruned in you, okay, my dear?